Hello and welcome to our eBay for Business live broadcast, our weekly live broadcast here on Facebook and in the eBay community, where we discuss the latest news, information, and everything related to selling about eBay. I'm Griff. Audrey's behind the desk today being producer. Say hello, Audrey.
Hello, Audrey.
We're discussing seller diversity, and with me this week is Dominque Hollins. Welcome, Dominque.
How you doing, everyone?
We'll take your questions on the topic, which will be seller diversity, in just a few minutes. So feel free to start popping them in to Facebook right now. We have Alan, who will be scouring through looking for questions that we can then ask towards the end of the broadcast. So, Dominque, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do here at eBay?
Excellent, and thank you, Griff, and thanks everyone for having me. So, at eBay, I am currently the Seller Diversity Program Manager, but I affectionately call myself the Seller Diversity Ambassador. And it's key that I do that because I represent both the sellers in our community and the needs of those sellers, and I also speak on behalf of the needs or the interests of eBay and what we're trying to do to support those sellers. Currently, my goal is to make sure that I develop and ensure that we have programs that ensure consistent diversity within our seller population. Well, what does that mean? Don't we currently have enough diversity in our population?
Yeah.
Arguably, in many ways we do, which is why we have different verticals and different areas that we market to. But there are also different needs of the consumers, and they're changing fairly quickly. So a core part of my role is looking at the need of the buyer and comparing those needs against the existing inventory in our seller population and the sellers that provide it. And then once we see those gaps or opportunities, we identify existing sellers or future sellers who can close that gap. And that's really a key part of my role. Prior to that, or in addition to that, I'm the founder of Black Employees at eBay. I'm a former global lead for our LGBTQ community. I celebrate our veterans and other specific minority groups or individuals who particularly don't get that recognition, and I'm an advocate internally. And so when the opportunity came to do the Seller Diversity Program Manager, it made sense to see, can we do the same thing across the U.S., and then if it works here, can we do it expanded globally? And so this is the opportunity to do that now.
Now, so for our own edification, can you describe what we mean at eBay when we say diversity and inclusion? So what are those terms that mean?
And that's a very good question, so thank you. Diversity is really just difference, a variety, an assortment, recognizing that there are various personalities and experiences shared by the individuals who engage in our marketplace, both the buyers and the sellers. And we must understand also with diversity, it means different things to different people. So depending on where you grew up, both in different parts of the world or in different cities or states or whatever that may look like, the different type of home environments, the shopping experiences, they're all very different. So we keep in mind that it means something different to someone else. The inclusion piece is the recognition of that difference and the integration of that variety. Once you know you have a different segments of the population, how do you factor that knowledge, that data into how we make decisions? And so the diversity is we are acknowledging that there are different experiences here, and the inclusion is taking that acknowledgement and integrating it into the strategies we use to ensure your success.
Well said. But how does that make a difference with a marketplace? Why should these two things be a concern to a marketplace like eBay?
Excellent question. Well, one, let's keep in mind we were founded in order to create an open and honest marketplace for anyone. It does not matter who you are. And thank you to those who've reached out and asked questions and said, why are we doing this? It doesn't matter. However, e-commerce is shifting. How people shop and experience those things online, what they're looking for, how quickly those items show up. It's constantly evolving. And although eBay is a technology company and we do have the infrastructure, we also are connecting people. So unless you understand what they need, how those changes are shifting, we can't immediately address those needs through our seller population and the strategies we uphold, we can't survive in this marketplace. And so as opposed to doing it on our own from the corporate side, we said, sellers, tell us what you know. If you knew then what you knew now, what could eBay have done? What could you have experienced differently to make this a very vibrant experience? And would you share this with family and friends based on that experience, or would you yourself become an advocate for that voice to attract that traffic so we can all be a more vibrant marketplace?
So there are some who may ask, and I'll play the devil's advocate and ask this question, doesn't diversity and inclusion, given our current political climate, actually divide our communities rather than unite them?
That's an excellent question, and I'm going to say it does not, and this is why. Diversity and inclusion go hand in hand. Some say diversity, inclusion, and belonging. Just because there's diversity and we have included them, do they feel like they belong? These three go hand in hand. So in order to have a substantive, robust experience for everyone, we have to make sure there's a level playing field for everybody. Well, how do you do that if you don't know who's in the marketplace?
Exactly.
Right? So a couple of steps is to acknowledge who is here. And if you think about a baseline, and you look at everyone and you have 12 notches of different representative sets of folks. Well, this notch is closer to the baseline. We can make a few adjustments and they will be successful. But this notch is about 6 or 7 levels down. There are some discrepancies or some things there that we could do better. And so when you think about diversity and inclusion, it is not a division. It is assessing the differences within our population and saying this segment of individuals are a little closer to the finish line. We can help them a little bit here. We can help these folks here. And collectively, when everyone else is at a level playing field, we can be more successful as a unit. So there is no division. It is really an assessment of what's really going on in each of the different segments. And once you can address those separate issues, then you can come back to the surface and say, okay, everyone is level set, and here's how we're going to move forward together.
So can you give me an answer to this? I don't know what these mean. What are SDS and SDA?
Love it. So our SDS is our Seller Diversity Survey, or our Seller Diversity Questionnaire, which many of you have seen. So we had our Seller News announcement talk about these two programs. The Seller Diversity Questionnaire is really, for the first time, we're asking who you are. Because our platform was built on anonymity, we don't know who you are. And for a shopping experience, that's absolutely necessary. They don't have to know who you are to purchase a product. But on the other side, in order to help you, we need to know how are your experiences different. And unless you give us some information to help us at an aggregate level figure out who you are. I don't need to know your name. I don't need to know who you are specifically. But I need to know the representative group that you suggest gives me these signals. And that then tells us where we need to lean in and provide more support. So the questionnaire is really your choice to tell us, here is who I am, here is what I need. You don't need to know my name. And then I take that information with my team and our management team and say, here are the opportunities, here are the challenges, and here's where we move forward.
So the Seller Diversity Survey
The questionnaire,
was
yes.
the SDS, and the SDA is
The SDA is the join us part. So I consider SDS to be educate us, tell us who you are. And the SDA, the Seller Diversity Advocate Program,
okay, right.
is tell me, join us. You become a part of the story. And what that means is you hear what we're doing, and now you're a seller in a community who would like to be an advocate to tell others what your story has been. There's several stories who have life experiences that really have moved me and many of the employees that we have here, which is why we do what we do. And instead of eBay trying to tell your story, we're giving sellers the opportunity to say, call me when you need someone to represent this population. If you need a millennial, if you need a veteran, if you need a person with a disability. I was successful on eBay, and I would love to share my story.
Cranky old white guy. You need one, here I am.
And my allies. So Griff and I have an incredible relationship. And although Griff and I do not just share all of the same things in common, we have a few things in common.
We have a few things.
Just a few. We have come together, and he is one of my greatest allies, and that's what I love. So our allies are invited to the table as well. You might not be the community, but you are an advocate for the community. You don't care who they are. Equality is important to you regardless of the individual.
So we're asking for volunteers to give us some data through the survey.
Yes.
And given that another big topic at the Times is, what do you do with personal data? I have to ask, how is this data being collected and used and secured more than anything? So if I answer these questions, am I putting myself in any sort of jeopardy or my information in
That's
jeopardy?
an excellent question. And given all of the privacy concerns for a number of things that have happened, in the industry and beyond, we are being very careful with your data. Our privacy and our legal teams have actually been very explicit in terms of what we can and can't capture. This is all about protecting your information and ensuring that only certain people have access. And so limited access has been provided. You don't have to worry about that information. And again, it is anonymous. We don't know who you are.
Right.
The
So we don't
only
connect
time-
any of this to a name.
None of this is connected to a name, to an account, to any of your eBay data, unless you have opted into the program or said that you wanted to learn more information, and then we will ask you to provide information.
So this is for the advocacy program.
Exactly.
Okay.
The questionnaire, it closed, and then your anonymous information was sent. And then you complete the SDA program, and then you provide some of those demographic data points. So the questionnaire has been separate. it, we can identify who you are. It will be provided in aggregate internally, so that informs how we move forward in terms of the strategies we execute over the next several years.
So the survey is no longer open.
Actually, the survey, good call out. The survey
Oh, I thought
closes.
you said it was closed.
The survey closes July 31st.
Oh, okay.
We want to we will be talking about seller diversity at eBay Open. We have a couple announcements that are come out
Sure.
to get as much information as possible. The SDA application process has closed. So thank you first to the thousands of sellers who completed the survey. I mean, this information is invaluable to us, so we really appreciate that.
Yeah, you got a very high
Much
return
higher,
rate. Yeah,
much
yeah.
higher return rate than we anticipated. About 2% higher than what the average would be for a response for this type of questionnaire.
Good
So
going,
thank you,
eBay sellers.
It means that you want to participate in this conversation, which is extremely important. And then so the other side is just making sure that you all have that opportunity. So the SDA program is really your voice in the room where you are not present. I am then the ambassador on your behalf, carrying that information forward.
Now, is there anything else you want to share with sellers before we take some questions?
Absolutely.
I know you're passionate about this.
This
So
is-
one of the things about working on a team with Dominque is you learn quickly just how, well, I don't want to say puny, but how small your passion is compared to someone else's, because she's the most passionate person I've ever met. So,
Thank you so much, Griff, and that means the world coming from
well,
you.
you're an inspiration.
Thank
I'll
you.
just come out and say it.
So, I mean, really, sellers, you're eBay family. I chose this opportunity to say, this is what sellers want. I want to be the ear on the table. I'm their whisper in my ear. Tell me what you want, and then I can communicate that effectively. So a couple of things I want to tell you. Join us on the eBay Community Discussion Board. There's a Seller Diversity Board. I ask that you be respectful of the different audiences that are there. I understand many of you feel very strongly about the implications of what we're talking about. This is not propaganda. This is not something we made up. eBay was founded on the principle of equal access and equal opportunity to everyone. We were founded by a 28-year-old French Iranian American immigrant who said they wanted to create this opportunity. So when we think about the different lives that are touched, we ask that you join that conversation in a respectful manner. So feel free to drop a note, and I'll respond to you as quickly as I can on the Seller Diversity Discussion Board. You can also email me personally, and thank you to those who have, at sellerdiversity@ebay.com. Please leave your eBay user ID for frame of reference and share whatever you want, or it can be completely anonymous. I would like to hear your words. And then lastly, I want to give you an invitation. We at eBay, for the third year for the fifth year, we will be participating in the San Francisco Pride Parade. Internally and externally, we celebrate cultural moments that are very important to us. So if you are an eBay seller in the San Francisco Bay Area, and on Sunday, June 24th, if you would like to march with us in the parade, please send me an email at sellerdiversity@ebay.com. Include your eBay user ID and your city location so we understand how we can help, and I will share more information with you. We would love to have our seller community walk with us. This is what eBay is about, and we're seeking more opportunities to do that. So join the discussion, share your ideas, be respectful of the fact that others have different experiences, and let me know what you're thinking. Thank you so much, Griff.
Dominique, it's my pleasure, and I'm glad you can join us. If you don't mind, we'd like to take some questions.
Let's
if there
go.
are any.
I'm ready for you.
So, Alan,
Yes.
any questions?
We sure do. We have a couple of comments on Facebook today. First up, Teresa is wondering when or if we will hear about the results of the diversity survey, Dominique.
Excellent question. I will work with our management team to figure out what we can share externally versus what can be shared internally, which is a direct response to the privacy concerns.
Right.
It is anonymous, but how we share that externally is one thing that'll be key. I will be trying to figure out how to integrate this in seller diversity initiatives that will be coming out as a result of the SDA program, and then we'll figure out how to integrate this in eBay for Business. How do we integrate this into the community? So stay tuned, and please, hold me accountable. Send me an email at sellerdiversity@ebay.com if you want to check in, and give me a couple of months to aggregate the information.
That's sellerdiversity@ebay.com. Not Griff at ebay.com.
Sellerdiversity@ebay.com.
Perfect. We've got quite a broad question from Nevermore Antiques.
Sure.
Why is this needed?
Yeah.
Well, that's an excellent question. A couple of things are happening. As we are looking to attract more buyers, we're looking at a very vibrant e-commerce community. The options that our buyers having are growing, and so eBay has to continue to be relevant. One way to be relevant is at the heart of who we are. It is our technology and making sure that our engineers are building the best products to provide that. But really the heart of this is the seller community. What are we selling? Who are we appealing to? If we know currently that millennials are a huge driving force in terms of the spending power that they have we done enough as a company to attract the millennial segment? But we can't do that and alienate our existing customers, so there has to be a healthy balance. This is really an assessment of where we are, an acknowledgement of what we need, and direction in terms of where we're headed moving forward. So with any problem that needs to be solved, this is just another version of that and another option to try to tackle this in a comprehensive solution.
Well, I can tell you, as a cranky old white guy, that I more than welcome our new millennial overlords. Please join us.
Well, you know what, Griff? I mean, I really think it's about the partnership. Your
Yeah.
experiences and the life experiences you have, I don't have them yet, and when I do, they will be different. But if there are things,
I hope so.
right? They'll be different.
You don't want my life experiences.
But there are things you can teach me and things I can learn from you, especially in the seller community. There are sellers who have been here, we're fortunate enough to have had them for as long as eBay has been around. So how do you get those sellers connected to the newbies? How do you get them to work together to show me the way?
Right.
Would a veteran experience relate more to another veteran who doesn't trust the platform yet? Or if you have a Hispanic seller who doesn't speak English, who sees this as an opportunity or cannot create the same? Not that all Hispanic sellers do or don't speak Spanish, but these are very niche experiences. How do we do that?
Or disabled.
Absolutely.
Disabled, folks who may have come from a less than satisfactory education background and don't have a lot of experience with
Absolutely.
computers.
Or even people with socioeconomic challenges.
Sure.
One of the things that we acknowledge is that eBay came around in the time where the internet was being born.
Yeah.
And so those who had access to the World Wide Web, that demographic was different than those who have access to it now. So they got a head start. And we'd like to bridge the gap for those who are not only getting introduced to this world of e-commerce, but they can be on the business owner side. It's not just about being a consumer, but it's taking ownership of what it's like to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So there's so many advantages to this discussion.
One of the things I've always loved about eBay, and I've watched this over the last 22 years, anyone can start a business
Yes.
and succeed regardless of your situation or who you are or what group you belong to, because of the anonymity. You don't really necessarily see it, and that served us well for the longest time.
It
But
did.
I see your point about the need for understanding those audiences
Exactly.
and the different segments of the marketplace in a way that we can then better serve. is
Yes,
basically.
one size does not fit all. In this case, it doesn't. Although the platform is enabled for anyone, we
Right.
realize that not everyone has recognized that, which means we have a better job of acknowledging and inviting those folks to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other people who don't see eBay as the winner to the front line, and I don't shy away from that, because we have to come back to the table and ask, why not?
Yeah.
What are the things that keep you here? What are the things that make you consider other platforms? And then how do we partner to, again, close the gap for that opportunity?
Any other questions?
Yep. Liz says, hi, great information and explanations. She is wondering how
Liz.
she can volunteer. So I guess that's the seller ambassador program.
Hi, Liz, and thank you. I love it. Send me an email at sellerdiversity@ebay.com. In the spirit of transparency, because it's how I lead, what I'm going to do is, as I'm evaluating the applications, I'm going to see where we have room for the formal SDAs, and then where we can have volunteers partner with those for this year. So maybe you can be considered for next year's cohort if you didn't make it this year, because I don't want to leave anyone behind.
Yeah.
So thank you, Liz, and please send me an email. I'd love to have that conversation with you.
You were overwhelmed with the response, though, right? You filled up the quota that you needed for.
I exceeded my quota.
Yeah.
I exceeded my quota much more quickly. Within 24 hours, we had over 5,000 responses from
Jeez.
sellers. Within 24 hours, 5,000 of you told us you had things to say.
Wow.
And I'm telling you that I want to hear you. So this is really key. And again, thank you, Liz.
And I guess that's it for the questions, so we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank our guest again, Dominique Hollins, and her email address is
Sellerdiversity@ebay.com.
not griff@ebay.com.
Sellerdiversity@ebay.com.
Thanks so much. And if you have any questions about the program, I know that Dominique can answer those personally. Just send her an email.
Yes, please.
Before we end, I want to do a little of our regular housekeeping. Remember to check out the community pages on eBay all the time. There's lots of great stuff happening there, and if you haven't visited visited in the last year, you'll be pleasantly surprised to see how the platform has improved. So just visit community@ebay.com. You can find the announcement board, the system board, discussion board. You can find the eBay radio board where you can listen to eBay radio at www.ebayradio.com 2 times a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, both days starting at 11 a.m. So join us there as well. Directly after this, at 1 o'clock, there'll be our regular community chat, and I believe you'll be in the community.
Not
Okay, not today. So it'll just be a general chat for general questions, but this is a very popular place for people to come and make their voices heard, so take advantage of that. So I think we've done all the housekeeping. I want to thank
more
our...
question.
Oh, yes, sure.
One more comment, and thank you, Griff.
Okay, sure.
We wanted to show a diversity and inclusion video, which is actually on our website, but we weren't able to do that today, and so Alan is going to post that in
Yes.
the group. So you can actually click on the video, 2 minutes of just a simple message to say why we're doing this, and I encourage all of you to just take a look.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I saw it. Yeah. So with that, thanks again.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next Wednesday. Until then, happy selling, and we're glad you've chosen eBay. Bye now.
All right.